Well, week 3 of the 2016 NFL season is in the books. I figure, what the hell? Why not come on here and talk about it a little bit, shall we? Let's get started. I gotta say, one of the interesting things now, we're 3 weeks in. You start to figure out more and more about these teams as the weeks go along, obviously. But one of the big stories to me are some of the teams that find themselves sitting at 1-2. Granted, 1-2 is a hell of a lot better place to be than an 0-3, but 1-2 is 1-2. You have a losing record. It means you've already dug yourself a little bit of a hole only 3 weeks into the season. Personally, I'm not that surprised that the Redskins are 1-2. If the Giants can learn to stop turning the ball over in key situations, or Eli Manning can learn how to hit somebody on a goddamn screen pass, the Giants would have won that game, went to 3-0, and the Redskins would be sitting at 0-3. But either way, I'm not that surprised that they're 1-2 and they're not a playoff threat, and everybody should know that now. But I look at Cincinnati, a team that's made the playoffs 5 straight years. They've started off 1-2. Now they played Pittsburgh and they played Denver. The Jets played them tough in week 1, and that was their one win. But still, 1-2 for a team that has playoff hopes and wants to think about taking the next step in the playoffs finally. 1-2 is not where you want to be. But even more surprising are the two perceived powerhouses in the NFC, the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals, are both 1-2. And they've looked bad doing it. Like, even when the Panthers beat the 49ers, you can't particularly say they were that impressive. I mean, they let the 49ers hang around. They let them stay in the game a lot longer than they had any business doing. And then the Arizona Cardinals, 1 week after blowing out Jameis Winston and the Bucks, you go to Buffalo. And it's funny, I alluded this in my Week 3 picks video. I'm like, all of these things point to me that the Cardinals should win this game easily. So, of course, the Bills will probably win and all, and I'm picking the Cardinals. And that's exactly what the fuck happened. There's no reason in the world that an 0-2 Rex Ryan-led football team should be beating the Arizona Cardinals. Not only beating them, dominating them. Arguably the top two teams in the NFC look terrible. And maybe it just speaks to the fact that this is an AFC year and the teams at the top, in particular at the AFC, are better, and that the AFC is a deeper conference. Because after 3 weeks, that's sure the fuck the way it looks. I mean, out of those 4 playoff teams that are 1-2, 3 of them come out of the NFC. The 2 teams that represented the NFC in the NFC Championship game last year. I mean, just unbelievable. It's crazy. So let's talk about some winners and losers from week number 3. The winners, the hits just keep on rolling for New England and Denver. Find ways to win games. What New England's doing is crazy. But, what Denver's doing is pretty special, too. Coming off of a Super Bowl championship, you had some roster upheaval, and you're still sitting at 3-0. And they look legit. And right now, you look at New England and Denver, and you'd be stunned if those aren't the 2 teams facing off in the AFC championship game. But there are other 3-0 teams that may be surprising, maybe not. The Minnesota Vikings maybe aren't that surprising at 3-0, although it was impressive what they did going on the road and making Cam Newton look like shit, the reigning league's most valuable player. Now the knuckleheads are going to come out of the woodworks and talk about my previous videos about Sam Bradford and you're 2 games into the Bradford experience. Just wait. Just wait. But for the time being, the Vikings are 3-0, sitting atop their division, and they look like the most balanced team in the NFC at the particular moment. Will they stay that way? I don't know. But they look good right now, if for no other reason that their defense is really, really damn good. And their offense isn't making a bunch of bad mistakes. But again, Sam Bradford is your quarterback. You don't have Adrian Peterson for most of the year. Let's see what happens in a month or 2 from now. The Baltimore Ravens are the 3-0 football team that nobody's fucking talking about right now. I didn't have high hopes for this team coming into this year, and maybe they fall apart a little bit the second half of the year. But right now, they're 3-0. They're playing a good brand of football, and they're finding ways to win games. Now, sure, you could sit there and say that they're beating teams like the Buffalo Bills, and they're beating teams like the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And hey, it's a valid point. They're beating crappy football teams. But they've beat 3 crappy football teams in 3 games. They are 3-0. They sit atop the AFC North. And for a team like the Baltimore Ravens, who's sitting there early on in the year and trying to figure out who they are and whether or not they can actually compete and contend, You start off 3-0, the longer they stay in the divisional race, the more above their heads they play, and they can maybe beat some of the more quality teams in that division and in that conference. So hats off. 3-0 is 3-0. No matter how you want to spin it, you are still beating NFL teams. Well, you beat two NFL teams and you beat the Cleveland Browns. There you go. And the Philadelphia Eagles, what more can you say? How stupid did Cleveland Browns organization look, and the Cleveland Browns fans that bought into and believed in the bullshit of RG&E and the fucking trade down to get volume of picks. You gotta be a pretty stupid fucking organization to have passed on Carson Wentz, and I think Eagles fans are more than pleased that this organization gave up a lot to go up and get him because now they're 3-0. Not only are they 3-0, I mean they had what I would surmise to be the most impressive victory of the weekend. They steamrolled the freaking Steelers in that Keystone State battle. They destroyed them. They owned them. They made them their bitch. I mean, that was just their defense is playing really good. It's more than just about Carson Wentz. They've got some nice young weapons on the offensive side of the ball, but a lot of it is about Wentz. He's making some beautiful throws. He's protecting the football. He's got full command of that offense very early on in his career in a very impressive way. The Eagles as an organization, regardless, right now, yes, they're sitting atop their division. Is it going to last? Probably not. Do they come back to earth a little bit the second half of the year? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, though, you got to feel really good about the shape of this organization going forward in the future because of this start behind your rookie quarterback that you gave up a lot to get. Now, the losers, my Chicago Bears, what more can be said? They're 0-3. They stink. When does the seat start to get hot for John Fox? And if you're a dumb Bears fan, don't give me that dumb injury excuse bullshit. Other teams deal with injuries and they win football games. This team was at least supposed to show some type of growth and progression in year 2 of the John Fox experience, and it's just not happened. They play scared on offense, and their defense doesn't do anything to excite you. They don't do anything to really mix it up. They're playing like a team that's just trying to hang in there and hope they can luck out and win a game. And if you're doing that, you're never going to get anywhere in the NFL. And the Bears right now are at 0-3. As far as I'm concerned, lose them all, Chicago, because that's the only fucking hope you got. The New Orleans Saints, the 10-year anniversary of the 2006 Monday night game against the Falcons, and Steve Gleason in the block punt, and you got the media all drooling all the knobs and trying to have all these kumbaya fuck-off stories about Katrina and the goodwill they feel about going back to the city and all this other bullshit. Let's fix up the Superdome. Gives a shit about the people that don't have homes. Let's not give a shit about the places in New Orleans 10 years later is still torn up to hell. The New Orleans Saints then go out there and they get their shit pushed in by the Atlanta Falcons. That was embarrassing. It was a high-scoring game, granted. It's not like, they didn't really get destroyed, but they were embarrassing nonetheless. To lose at home like that on Monday Night Football with Gleason there, with all of this, that was just an embarrassing bad loss. The Jacksonville Jaguars found another way to lose a game. They're 0-3. For a team that had some potential thoughts of maybe contending in the AFC South, maybe contending in the wild card race, this is a team contending for a top 5 pick instead. How much longer before Gus Bradley is really on the hot seat? How much longer before he gets fired? I think it's a fair question. Because right now, if you're looking at a coach that's most likely to get fired early in the year, it's got to be Gus Bradley, because this Jaguars team has no business being 1-3 or 0-3. Yeah, they played the Ravens tough, but they still found a way to lose. Period. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, there are a lot of pieces in place that say this should be an elite team in the AFC along with the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos. But then they go into Philadelphia, a team that is inferior, and they get the shit kicked out of them. This has been a problem for Mike Tomlin coached teams over the years, losing to teams like the Jets and the Raiders and the Eagles on the road, these teams that aren't very good, that the Steelers just don't show up for. And they just didn't show up here. And in the second half, the Eagles destroyed them. The Steelers have got to figure out how they can play better against bad teams, because this is a team that has some of the pieces that could go to a Super Bowl out of the AFC. They have the type of formula that could beat the Patriots, that could beat the Broncos. But they can't even beat the Eagles. Frustrating. Studs of the week: Dak Prescott, Trevor Siemian, Carson Wentz. All young quarterbacks first-year starters that played really, really well. Simeon, over 300 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Carson Wentz, what more do I need to say? Dak Prescott has the Cowboys sitting at 2-1 and wondering if they really should put Tony Romo back in when he gets healthy. I mean, all three of these young and experienced quarterbacks have their teams in playoff position, have their teams with winning records 3 weeks in. You know, that's impressive stuff. In terms of the running backs, you got to go with the tandem for the Falcons of Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman on Monday night. If you had them on your fantasy teams, DraftKings, what have you, you're probably feeling the love from them. But they just went out there and destroyed the Saints defense. I mean, it was so bad, I thought Rob Ryan was still the defensive coordinator. And then Marvin Jones, 6 catches, over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's been a really productive player early on, coming in from the Bengals, signing that big free agent contract. The Lions look like they've got a good one, a guy who's getting the opportunity to be the number one and showing that he has number one ability. The duds this week, you got to go with the quarterback position. There were just some really, really bad quarterback play. Horrible quarterback play. The reigning league MVP, Cam Newton, 3 interceptions. The Panthers have some problems. They have some big problems, and they need to figure it out. And one of the things they need is they just need Cam to play a little bit better. You know, not time to panic or anything, but he can't be throwing 3 picks like he did. Just like Carson Palmer can't be going and playing Buffalo and putting 4 picks up on the board. You start to wonder, is maybe Carson Palmer done? Or getting to that point where he's close to done? I don't know if we're at that point just yet, but it's these type of performances. He has that Bills defense stinks. You have no reason throwing 4 picks against them. It's just unacceptable. But then, of course, you've got Ryan Fitzpatrick that said, fuck you all. I'm going to throw 6 interceptions. 6! That's something Rex Grossman looks up to and says, man, you got games. You got skills. I'm sexy Rexy. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 6 picks. Time to shave that beard. Time to fucking shave your head and get a mohawk or do something, because that's fucking horrible. It's literally the type of performance you watch, and it feels like every single time Ryan Fitzpatrick drops back and throws the football, either A, it should be picked, or B, you're stunned and borderline disappointed when it isn't picked. If you're already going to throw 6 of them, you might as well throw 10 of them. You might as well throw 12 of them. You might as well put yourself in the record books for fucking ever. I think Pro Football Focus talked about it's the lowest grade for a single game performance they've ever given a quarterback. Just be thankful, Jets fans. Your team didn't sign him up to a super duper long-term deal. Imagine how stupid you would feel. But that's what it was. Week 3, 2016 NFL season. Got some more NFL videos coming up throughout the week, so stay tuned.